the meeting goes. So yes, welcome everyone. As I said, there's translation in Spanish, in English, and in French. So please access that by clicking on the interpretation button at the bottom of your screen. And then, without further ado, I think we'll get going. So thank you everyone for joining. As I'm sure many of you already know, Claim Your Water Rights is End Water Poverty's core campaign, and it unites members working across a variety of countries, continents, and contexts under one banner. We launched this campaign on International Human Rights Day in December 2019 with the aim of testing and enforcing the human rights framework at national and grassroots level. So through this, we offer grants to members to design and deliver advocacy activities that are led by communities and are specifically tailored to local contexts. And the impact of this campaign has been really far-reaching. You know, multiple members have changed policies and laws. Others have influenced government's COVID-19 interventions. Some have produced novel research. Others have enforced corporate compliance. And almost all members have secured tangible infrastructure and coverage improvements, with thousands of people in various communities around the world claiming better water and sanitation services. Through Claim Your Water Rights, End Water Poverty has supported over 40 different members in 17 different countries over the last 5 years. So we're now very well placed to assess what has worked, what hasn't worked, and then in sessions like these to exchange strategies and solidarity. So part of the purpose of this exchange is to showcase the variety of advocacy tactics that members employ to enforce water rights. So we've got political lobbying, got movement building, legal reform, lodging complaints, etc. And we have 5 presentations from members based across our different geographical regions. And then we'll have half an hour for questions and discussions. So without much else, I'm just going to hand over to our first speaker, Amaka Naike, who is the coordinator of the Network of Water Rights Initiative, or NEWARI. NEWARI is a collection of over 20 community-based organizations who have been campaigning for the Enugu state government to realize people's rights to water since 2020. So I'm just going to quickly stop sharing and then start sharing another presentation. And in the meantime, Amaka, please take the mic.
All right. Thank you so much, Sam. Thank you, End Water Poverty, for this great opportunity. It has been wonderful working with End Water Poverty. Every success story that we have recorded today is as a result of your support. Okay, let me quickly go to the main thing because of time and network issues. Political lobbying, elections, advocacy, and legal reforms in Enugu, Nigeria, from coal city to water city. Thank you, Sam, for that. It has really been a perennial water scarcity in Enugu State. It has been decades of water issues, but today we can boast of seeing the impact of our advocacies and the things we have been doing in Enugu State. Okay, let me quickly say 1 or 2 things we have been able to do in regards to mitigating and this issue of water scarcity and also lobbying for reforms in the area of water. We have been able to engage right holders. We have been able to engage our political aspirants, our political leaders. We have engaged them in different ways. We have advocated in different ways by using our Twitter space. We have Twitter sections. We pay courtesy visits to deliberate on these issues bringing up the plight of the people because of lack of water. And in doing this, we also engage them in town hall meetings where we gather them together with the people that are facing the people whose rights are being trampled upon. Because when a government does not provide water, the rights of people are being taken for granted. Sorry, I'm not actually following the slides because of time. So I'm just trying to, hit the point of some of the things we've been able to do in respect to lobbying, to end water issues. So we have also been able to get them improved in the area of availability of resource, because without funds, some of these things we won't be able to achieve, some of these things we have been able to achieve. So this present government has done a lot, because when he came on board as an aspirant, we held him accountable that you have to make a promise to end this water issue. It's not just to come and say you want to vie for the governorship of Enugu State. We have had governors come and go, and yet we've not been able to solve this issue of water. And we held him accountable, and he made a promise to end this water issue, which by God's grace, we can boast of having 120 million liters of water through the rehabilitation of 9th Mile facility. Before this present government, what we get from 9th Mile crash project is 2,000 liters per day. But now we can boast of 120 million liters of water per day for the people of Enugu State, especially in the metropolis. Aside doing that, they have been able to start changing the old asbestos pipes that we have, which some were vandalized, which some, because of the long decades use of it, it was no more reticulating water to the people. Right now, they are changing the asbestos pipes to ductile pipes to every nook and cranny in Enugu State as we speak now. So it has really transformed the face of the perennial water scarcity that we have. That's why we say that it has been transformed from the coal city to water city, because before we can't even talk about it. But we constantly kept on engaging them. We constantly kept on engaging both the House of Assembly members. That was when we got even the water law passed, because the water law entails a lot. We got the water law passed. So we were able to do this within this, the shortest period of time. Then, commitment by the state government to enhance water supply in 34 primary health care facilities and installation, rehabilitation of boreholes in 7 general hospitals. We are also able to get the government do it through lobbying, through letting them know that water is a human right, that everybody deserves to have access to water, that it is an injustice for people not to have water. And I tell you that they understood it very well, because when this present government came in and we had a roundtable discussion, they were happy to listen to us. They were happy to the extent that they told us that we are like watchdogs for them, that we need to keep them on their toes. So we call their attention to everything that is not going right, and they adhere to our suggestions, they adhere to our ideas. That is why we are here today. I've said about the facilitation of the passage of the Enugu State Water Law. It's part of what we are able to achieve. When there was a declaration of state of emergency, it was through our lobbying. We had a state of emergency declared in the water sector. it was also through our engagement with the government, with all the people in the water sector. So engagement and advocacy and lobbying has been the tools we've been able to use, to achieve this great milestone in the water sector. Then let me quickly go to the next question. Okay, how were we able to convince the government to declare a state of emergency? Yes, it was part of making them understand that we have a problem. Because sometimes the government may not even know that these are issues, that people are facing a whole lot of things in respect to lack of water. But we got them to understand that it is an emergency, it is a need that needs to be addressed immediately and fast. Because when we talk about water, it's not just not having water. You see people going to get dirty water, you see people going to get unclean water, and this escalates to health challenges. So even beyond not having water, people get diseases, cholera, different form of diseases. So these are the things we brought to their conscience, that there is need for urgent need to address this issue. Beyond having water in our homes, people are falling sick. Our waters are being polluted. People don't get clean water. You see people fetching water that are brown in color, water that are dirty, that when they take it, they get rashes all over their bodies and all that. But I can really say that today, the whole thing, the narrative has changed, and it's changing for good, moving forward. Then, yes, during the election, we engaged them. You cannot just come and make promise to us. We have been having people making promises and they are not fulfilling it. We told them that we are tired. We will only vote for you when we are sure that you have the capacity. I tell you the truth, this present government, the governor, we voted him because of what he was able to show, to tell us that he would do. We didn't just vote him because of political party or because we feel that, no, we followed his manifesto. We asked him, what do you have to do in terms of ending water poverty? What do you have to end perennial water scarcity in Enugu State? It cannot be business as usual. We want a change. We want a change. Our people are suffering. And he showed us, he gave us his manifesto and said, hold me accountable. Within 180 days, I am going to do this. And we believed him, and we never relented. We followed it using our countdown through the help of End Water Poverty. We were putting him on his toes. Imagine having 120 million liters. Is a great milestone. Imagine having our old pipes being changed to new modern pipes. Is a great milestone, and we are not ending it there. Every nook and corner of Enugu State must have water. Anywhere you are, you will open your tap and get water. This is what we want to achieve in just few months to go. We are even going to visit those sites. Not that we are, it's not a story. It's not that we are getting information from other people. It's a first-hand information. We go out there to the field. Whatever we see that is not right, we call their attention to it immediately. This is how to, hold them accountable and make them do the right thing. You don't just make promise to people and go and sleep. We have told the governor, we will not let you rest until you address this issue finally, forever, and both in the rural communities and everywhere. Even the issue of pollution, some of the rivers that people use in their communities, we are also addressing it. We are holding companies accountable for such things. Whichever area that we're supposed to hold people accountable.
I'm really sorry, Amaka, to cut you off, but you're over 10 minutes now.
Oh, my time is up?
Yes, we're going to need to make sure that there's time for the other panelists, but fantastic presentation, and as you're saying, real testament to the tenacity and determination to just keep being resolute and not relenting in this campaign. And if you have further things that you'd like to add, we'll have time at the end for discussion. So maybe we can come back to you. And I think also just worth saying, you know, after the 180 days countdown, you've secured a 5.5% budget allocation to water and sanitation in Nubi. So you're continuing not to relent. But thank you very much for the presentation, Hanneke.
Thank
Sorry
you.
for cutting you.
I hope it makes sense. I hope
It
you
did.
got one or two things from my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Hanneke. Okay,
All right.
and our next speaker is PC Misra, who is the director of the Indian Institute of Youth and Development in Odisha. PC has been really a long-standing and an integral member of the Onwards Poverty Coalition since its inception, serving on both our steering committee and now on our task team. So over to you, PC.
Thank you very much, Sam, for giving this opportunity. I belong to an organization called Indian Institute of Youth and Development, which has been associated with EWP since its inception. We were also associated with WaterAid since 1990, so to say till now, through EWP. And we are a member of Freshwater Action Network South Asia, and earlier we were also associated with the FAN Global, which was again hosted by WaterAid. So IOID has been working in the development sector for about half a century in the remote tribal and rural areas of India, and especially in the state of Odisha. From our experience, we realized that a service-based approach need to be transformed to human right-based approach. For that, why we felt about the human right-based approach, there are certain things which has given us inspiration to shift, to give a shift from service to advocacy. Number one, we are working in a tribal and rural area where the literacy level is low. Most of the people are less aware about their rights and entitlements, and the question of claiming their right doesn't arise. They consider that it is the mercy of the government to provide the service and considered as fortune to favor and misfortune not to favor. Under this state of affairs, if we work in supplementing the work of the service providers, it will take indefinite period, not sure when to achieve and reach the unreached. There are two categories of unreached. One is the vulnerable and marginalized. The other one is the higher level bureaucracy and the decision makers. They are also unreached because it is difficult for the people to have access to them. That also we call unreached. So we in the CSO mostly have a notion that we, the development workers, know everything and we can uplift the marginalized, vulnerable, and try to lead them, be ourselves in the front line, which often doesn't work. It is noticed that sometimes the CSOs are targeted or ignored by the feudalistic mindset of the bureaucrats and service providers and designated institutions. The service-based approach, SPA of the CSOs, keeps us at a stand at ease mode, which is very well appreciated by the service providers, as sometimes it adds to the activity number of the service providers at their level at the cost of the service of the CSOs. In a democracy, we teach people to question, but on the other hand, we don't like others to question us. The teacher who teaches doesn't want that the student question him or her. The policy makers don't want to listen to the voice of the voiceless, marginalized, and most of the time their voice doesn't reach them. They mostly depend on the so-called consultants who hardly go to the field but prepare excellent reports and submit to the policy makers. The service providers at the implementation level do not consult the beneficiaries, but do as directed by their upper level officials, by the higher authority. They forget that they are also answerable to people, not the higher authority only. We also realized that government, both state and center, have established a series of institutions and commissions for redressal mechanism, but the marginalized groups are not organized, don't know about the institution, what role they play, how to approach, and the tactics to be adopted. There is a gap between the duty bearers and the right holders. We thought that best advocacy for people we work for are the people themselves. Considering the above experience, we thought that the human right-based approach should be let marginalized groups be identified, organized, their capacity built on human right, and after that, human right to water and sanitation, and sensitize taught the techniques and tactics to represent their issues to the concerned institutions and commissions to get their entitlements realizing as a human right. What we did, in the locality, building the capacity of PSOs on the human right and then HRTW, formed core committees of LNOB groups at the local level, build their capacity as a core team member, enable them to be a leader, maximum 2, give them leadership skill. We did some homework of identifying legal institutions and commissions set by the central law of the land, but people are not aware of this. Organized a consultation inviting all the heads of the institutions and commissions set by the government and understand their focus on was and their reach to the LNOBs and vice versa. From the consultation, we understand that the institutions commission focus on mainly on water in general, which is more political in nature, but negligible or no in case of WAS. Our next step was to collect information about the commission mechanism in the form of a handbook entitled Reaching the Unreached in English, endorsed and released by the governor of the state as a stamp that it is recognized. And now it can be found now in EWP website and Human Right to Water Switzerland website and also FENSA. Subsequently, the handbook is translated into 4 Indian languages, which now helps around 15 states of the country. Then the tactics that we have adopted, which is quite different from others. In place of claim your right and lodging complaint, we used the terminology as a submitting representation. Nowhere anyone can find that we are lodging a complaint, but doing the same thing in the form of submitting representation. Instead of a verbal complaint, we replaced by writing. In place of individuals visiting and giving complaint, we made it a group of core committees of the marginalized. Instead of leaders leading the group, we were at the background. We were never seen by the service providers and authorities, but we were doing everything behind. But the leader of the vulnerable group was leading the representation group. And then the representative visiting the institution prepared the representation themselves, not by us. The prior appointment was taken so that there is a scope for access. On arrival, the core leader usually offers flower bouquets so that they are pleased. Handing over the representation was duly acknowledged, either signing the second copy or with an action photo, depending on the situation then and there. On coming out, the news was highlighted in the local print media, in the local language. For your information, the other medias are not available in that locality. Only 2 enabled people know about the happenings. Once it is published, there is a system in the government, action taken note is prepared by each department, and then it is easy to follow. Then we started a follow-up was done once, twice, thrice, And in many cases, we find in the first stroke, the activity was done, and some were twice, some were thrice, and in few cases, nothing has happened. But still, the success rate is high. Sometimes the photo was shared with the concerned officer who is authorized to resolve the issue, so that he is kept in almost awakened. The message could be spread to the widespread, far and wide, especially to the counterparts of the neighborhood institutions, which has awakened to alert and work on the issue. LNLB core has now access to the office, knows the techniques which he can apply in future, sensitize other groups, and thereby begin empowering process, and it gives a multiplier. The CSO leaders facilitate the process and without being targeted, enable to duty bearers to understand the right holders' perspective. Instead of fighting for rights, understanding each other's human rights is initiated among the duty bearers and right holders without antagonizing the situation. And the last one is the last but not the least of this test is cost effective. Whatever money we have spent, we got the result of 5 times minimum. We spent 1,000 and got the benefit of 5,000 in the form of tube well repair platforms, soak pits, public toilet, and repair of tube wells and all that. And the number of one example is the benefit was for 861 families. We spent only 5,000 GBP, and the people who were benefited were 4,300 and 1,500 school students. Thank you very much. Hope I am in time.
Thank you, PC. You are just about in time. I was going to cut you off, but thank you very much for an excellent and very practical presentation. And as you say, I think one of the things I took from that was that the best representatives are the people themselves, and you've managed to navigate a difficult civic space in India and still lodge complaints or make representations, as you say, to Human Rights Commission. So really interesting work, and thank you for sharing. Our next speaker, or next speakers, are Monica Olvera from Cantaro Aful and Natalie Seguin from the Freshwater Action Network Mexico, who will talk about their work obtaining and publicizing data on the quality of water in Mexico schools. So English speakers should now switch to the English interpretation channel. If you haven't done so already, please. You can click the globe at the bottom of the screen. And Natalie and Monica, over to you.
Hola, buenos días. Muchas gracias.
Hello, good morning. Thank you, Sam, for the invitation to end water poverty and for organizing this in the framework of the World Water Day. I just want to verify with you that you can see my presentation.
Yes, Natalie.
Can you see?
Yes.
Okay. I want to take this opportunity that we are having, whilst we're having the Spanish interpretation, and that this session is being recorded. We are gonna do our presentation in Spanish, so these people that connect or go into this recording will see the work that we've been doing in Mexico in order to claim our water and sanitation rights in Spanish. Again, sorry, I have problems with technology. The water network that we have in Mexico works with many associations working in the territory along all country. The association is FunMix. And the campaign of Claim Your Rights, we've had two main campaigns. The first one, I don't want to really focus on it, but I just want to mention it, is to strengthen capacities of communities that are working with FunMix. And so we are working with them to give the right to people to water and sanitation. It is very important to sensibilize people and bring them information to these people so they know that they have this right and they are they should be granted this right. This is a long process, of course, but once people realize that they can have these rights, that they are right holders, they will feel empowered and they will feel with the certainty of asking and mobilizing for their rights. In the other line of work, we have the incidents across evidence, and here's where we're going to focus on during our presentations, me and my colleague Monica. In Mexico, we have always reported a very high water coverage. However, the problem is that we have the infrastructure, but this doesn't guarantee that water is really running through this infrastructure, nor it guarantees the quality of this water that's coming from this infrastructure. And this is also the case in schools, also in households, but also in schools and public places. So we have a very poor water quality, and this is one of the main problems in this country. We are trying to demonstrate this poor quality of water, and through our platform of access to information, we managed to gather some data of this. After years and years trying to get this information, we finally got the information about some water quality tests that had been done in roughly 16 schools all over the country. And 1600, sorry. And so we realized that we had a very important source of information. We asked for this information. It was very hard again, but once we got it, they didn't give us this information in an open system that allowed us to analyze information, but we had to analyze more than 8,000 pages of data on water quality, on systematic, on different type of systems. And so we presented the data in a website called Agua en Escuelas, Watering in Schools.mx, where everyone can find this information on water quality. And not all schools went under this evaluation. Only the schools that were considered having more or less good water provision. So that means that all the schools that do not have access to water do not appear or have not been taken into account in this analysis. So we did this together with a National Institute of Water. And thanks to the different collaborations, we were able to build an incident strategy with all the authorities. And now I will let my colleague Monica explain to you this work. Go on, Monica. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So now I'm gonna tell you about how we process, what was the strategy. And all the data about the water quality, they are experts in this subject. And most of them, they are in the center and in the north of the country. And this situation is quite severe in Mexico. It's over 1.5 million because they are drinking water with arsenium that is over the safe limits. And many of them are facing high risk with a high arsenic intake in the water. Also, around 20 million of people in the country, they are having water intake with different substances, and most of them are in the center and in the north, as I said before. So the most important thing about this information is because we know that the people that is affected mostly is children, because they are the ones that are growing up. So in general, the population in Mexico are not aware of the water quality, and specifically, they are not aware that children are exposed to this big problem. So I wanted to highlight our strategy, and FANMEX together with Cántaro Azul are two organizations that are from the civil society experts on water, and they are trying to understand these and let these academics and leaders, so they have our backs, and we are trying to help them to carry this investigation. I always think that it's important to take this into account for our strategy, that we are collaborating together. And also something else that we did is build this platform with all this data that we gathered. And this platform explain the population in general what means to have fluoride in the water, that we have arsenium in the water, or other kind of bad parameters. We also need to highlight that we are only measuring some parameters and not necessarily all of them based on the Mexican rules, because that's the information that we got. Something else that we also did, besides building this open platform to the public, we identified where was the problem, the main one at least. We sent letters to those that are at the highest spheres or the political leaders, so they could do something about it. We also sent letters to the institutions and different organizations. And what was the result from that? Let's start from the negative side. The institutions did not pay attention at all. We shared information, and I think this is key. Sometimes it's difficult to understand from other contexts, but in Mexico, the institutions do not share the information amongst them. So there is no collaboration. Even that maybe we have an issue, they kept the information for themselves. And they fear to communicate and share what is happening with the water quality. And that's why we thought it was important to distribute these letters. But as I said before, we didn't have any answer from the institutions. And even the institution that we got the information from did not compromise with us in a clearly manner. They didn't want to share this. And I think this is crucial here in Mexico. There is no like an official organization for the water quality. And here you can see one of the templates of the letters that we shared and the analysis with all these data that we gathered. And of course, again, without any answer from the authorities. But as Natalie mentioned before, we have that data, and this allowed us to showcase
y llamar la atención a partir de esta evidencia. Entonces, la plataforma, pues también se presentó en el Foro Mundial del Agua hace 2 años, si no me equivoco. Se ha presentado en otros espacios a padres y madres de
We
familia.
also shared this in other areas, maybe with parents, for instance, and also recently, we also
Monica, I'm really sorry to interrupt you, but we're quite a bit over time now. If you're able to very quickly finish, perhaps. And
Sí. Entonces, lo que nos permitió fue involucrar a otras organizaciones que no son expertas en agua, que están enfocadas a derechos de infancias y que ahora, pues,
right, for instance, and we will try to present this platform in other areas so we can have that impact that we want, and it's more efficient, and we have an answer from the institutions. Thank you very much.
thank you very much, Monica, and sorry to rush you there at the end. So another very excellent and interesting presentation. I can see there's a lot of good questions in the chat. We'll come back to that at the end of this discussion. Our fourth speaker is Jackson Mwanya, who is the Executive Director of Vision Africa Regional Network, VAREN, in Zambia. So Jackson's going to talk about VAREN's work in enforcing corporate compliance and climate justice in Luapula Province, Zambia. So Jackson, please take the mic. I have your presentation to share, so let me just share my screen and then please go ahead. Jackson, we can't hear you.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Jackson. You're very quiet. Do you mind just edging a bit closer to the microphone, please?
Are you able to share the screen?
I'm just having some issues sharing the screen, Jackson. Sorry about this. Are you able to share your screen instead? Oh, wait, hang on. Can you see my screen, Jackson?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay, I don't think it's quite working still. Sorry about this, everyone. Okay, here we go.
Okay, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to talk about the right to water and climate justice, which we are focusing on the corporate accountability to ensure the private sector, they also get involved in the promotion of right to water and also to ensure that we protect our climate, which is a direct link to issues of water and sanitation in our current generation. Yeah, about the corporate accountability project. This is a project which we started way back in November 2021 when we did the survey, which reveals that most of our small businesses, especially our local mining sectors, depended more on water users to run their businesses within the province, which is Luapula Province. And with the partnership which we have with EWP, we launched this campaign where we try to compel the private sector to become responsible in terms of responding to issues of climate justice and respect the right to water. Next year, then in the summer year 2021, we developed a document called Climate Justice Commitment, where we try to compel the corporate industries to sign businesses and human rights commitments with redress measures, because we wanted for them to commit and also to come up with redress measures in case they violate their commitments. And within this year, where we engaged the local authority, which is the councils, and we compelled about 2 Chinese companies which were producing, they're actually producers of beer, and they signed this commitment because we discovered that they were polluting one of the streams which were being used by a lot of people on the downstream, but they set up their industries near these streams without letting the people know. But most of the influence from the brewing company was going straight to the streams. So when we discover this, we try to engage the local authorities, which is the government, and we try to compel these 2 companies to sign their commitment, and also ensuring that they reverse what they were actually doing by taking the influence direct to the streams. And last year, in 2023 in November, I think we also got support from EWP in order for us to scale the project by bringing more private sectors. Number one, we are trying, first of all, to raise the awareness during the international human rights regarding the climate justice. And our focus of the project is try to bring now more of the private sectors who can actually now appreciate the importance of protecting our environment. I think most of you can also be aware that in Zambia, we have issues of climate change. I think this year, where we experienced a very high drought, where the president have even declared climate, I think it's now a disaster in Zambia. And we took advantage of the situation, tried to see how best we can compare most of the private sectors, especially the mining sector, who have been contributing to the depleting of the groundwater and affecting most of the communities around these areas. Yeah. I think in terms of the progress of our campaign, I would like actually to show the team that so far, I think it's no longer 15. I think the number is now escalating, is going up. Initially, we had about 15 more members who have been mobilized, who were mobilized and being influenced. These are local companies to sign the climate justice document in order for them to become responsive in terms of protecting the water sources, as well as protecting the environment, so that we protect the water resource. And we have, I think, enormous response, because now with our current situation, which we have actually experienced in this rain season in our country, the government is now very proactive to ensure that each and every individual needed to be involved in terms of protecting this water resource, because we don't know what will happen next. So we were supposed to have on 12th of March, it was a date which was set to sign the commitments by most of the new 15 new companies, but we were told, because I think this event was supposed to be graced by the permanent secretary, and because of the busy schedules, we have rescheduled this meeting, which is coming up immediately after the World Water Day. I think the date provided was 26th, where now there will be an official ceremony to sign, and maybe we'll try to share the Facebook page so that people will be able to see what will happen to most of these private companies who will come and sign their commitments, so that we are able to protect this water resource by responding to issues related to environment. Yeah, I think this is just one of the captions during the engagement with the private sector. And with the private sector, where we try to explain the need for them to become involved in the fight of in respecting the issues of water, as well as by responding to climate justice. I think it was one of the consultation meetings which we had, that is earlier, end of the 2023, that's around end of December. Yeah, so we have actually finalized, I think I would like actually to show the team that we have finalized the training of the local journalists. and on the part of climate justice reporting. And we are planning to give an award that is on Thursday to some of our journalists who started reporting on issues of climate justice, because this year, I think after tomorrow, all of us in Upper Province, we have what we call a provincial World Water Day, where the UNICEF representative, they'll be handing over some of the water facilities, also the PS, and all of us will be there. And we are trying actually to take advantage during this event to go and award some of our journalists, especially local journalists who have started reporting on issues related to climate justice, so that it becomes a motivating factor, and we'll be able maybe to share more of the pictures, what will be happening during the World Water Day, which will be graced by the permanent secretary, I think possibly after tomorrow. Yeah, so far as an institution, finally, I think the time we were preparing this presentation, we were working in the 23 districts, but we have scaled up. UNICEF have decided to increase the number of districts and the number of provinces for us to deal with issues of capacity building, so that there is a sustainable management of the water infrastructures in most of the communities. So we have gone up to now to 32 districts so far, where we are trying to support in the government to build capacities to most of the piped water schemes, and also the boreholes to most of the people in the rural areas, so that these facilities can be sustainable and people should continue having access and reduce the number of hours for the breakdowns of the water facilities. So these are some of the things which we are taking advantage in terms of scaling up our campaign beyond the Luapula province where we are, because finally we are now escalated to 7 more provinces. So in Zambia, we have only remained with 3 more provinces, then we can be able to cover the entire country in terms of work in relation to water and sanitation. Yeah, I think the next one is just the picture during the international, during the
Sorry,
human
Jackson, I thought you'd stopped there, so I stopped sharing my screen.
No problem. Yeah.
Did you have anything else to add? Just because we're at time, there's one more presentation to go. If not, maybe we'll come back to you during the Q&A. But yeah, very just fantastic work, really, as I've said to you so many times before. You know, compelling brewing companies and mining companies to sign commitments with redress measures, closing their offices in certain cases as well, is really no mean feat. And it's a great example of civil society working with governments to hold corporate accountability. So fantastic stuff. And then I'm just going to pass on now to our final speaker. It was going to be Mary James Gill, who is the Executive Director of Centre for Law and Justice, but Mary's not so well at the moment. So we're going to have her colleague and journalist Asif Akil to chat about how Centre for Law and Justice have used the Claim Your Water Rights campaign to advance both water rights and sanitation workers' rights in Lahore, Pakistan. So over to you, Asif.
Thank you very much, Sam. Thank you very much.
Or Asif, you're a bit quiet. Could you please just get closer to the mic?
Can you hear me now?
I can, but it's quite faint. Is it possible to try?
Yes, you are away from the mic.
No, I am right. My
Okay.
Exactly on my laptop.
थोड़ा सा इसको आवाज को तेज कर दे.
आवाज तो मेरे से नहीं, कैसे वो तेज नहीं हो सकती.
इसमें आप ठीक हो गया.
That's better, Asif. That's good. We can hear you clearly.
एक मिनट.
Asif, we can hear you very clearly. That's good. Asif, that was very clear. If you're able to go ahead. Oh dear, I think we've lost the scene. Okay, well, no worries. Maybe
I think yes, I can.
Are you sure, Mary? We could always go to Q&A first and then come back. to see if Asifa's mic is working, but you're welcome to go ahead if you're able to do so.
no, quilite badar sim. Pesi me sienta que sari jatalar que tu porque no vale sin sinista. Sinista. Al jora si o pese juka. Saída.
All right.
Mary, would you like to go ahead?
All right, unless Asif is here, I think he should be here. All right, do you want me to share the screen? Let me try. I'm so sorry.
No need to apologize, Mary. As I said, we can just go straight to Q&A. If that would be preferable, just let me know if that would be your preference, and we'll do that.
All right, can you see the screen?
Yes, I can.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Sam. It's been a privilege working with you. Center for Law and Justice has been raising voice through digital campaigning, advocacy, directly working with the communities. Particularly, it's known for sanitation workers' rights, but we extended this movement while going to their informal settlements and raising awareness for their fundamental basic rights, particularly water rights, and with End Water Poverty's Claim Your Water Rights campaign. Asif, our colleague, is the founder of this campaign, Vote for Water, that we started in 2021. And the whole idea was, because he's the resident of that constituency, we chose for this campaign. And it's considered to be, it's a minority neighborhood, but considerably a posh area where the residents of Christian minority, they're around 23,000, but they still lack basic amenities like clean drinking water. So with this campaign, we started raising awareness, and the one tool we tried. So there were several set of activities that we conducted under this campaign, but the main idea was to raise awareness with the residents that clean drinking water is their basic fundamental right. Despite the fact that many residents have been facing this issue for a very long time, but they were not vocal about it. And this Bahar colony, we took it as a case study to see if we could engage with the communities and building the trust through our advocacy and reaching out. But the main tool for this campaign was the research, the survey we conducted. We engaged. The focus of this campaign was the residents particularly, but we focused. We engaged women who were facing this issue, like they could not clean utensils, they could not cook food, they had to bring water from filtration plants, or they had to carry water bottles to get water. So one major issue they were facing, we tried to engage with them. Then we had sanitation workers, as majority of the residents were sanitation workers. We tried to make sure that their voices were also heard, and intersectionality of the challenge they were facing, that they're not just an important workforce, but also residents of an impoverished neighborhood where they were working for the sanitation of other residents, but they themselves were deprived of basic water sanitation rights. And for the first time, we were able to mobilize the communities. Through the survey, and I'll also try to quickly share some findings of the survey. But for the first time, we were able to mobilize the communities through a community convention that for the first time, we were able to gather people. And the whole idea of this campaign was to make politicians accountable, because there was a by-election going on, and we were trying to mobilize people that whoever the candidate comes to their doorstep, they have to make this a demand in exchange of their vote. So Vote for Water, that you can clearly see that the demand was that clean drinking water is their first necessity that must be supplemented by the politician, and it worked quite well in a way that the people largely they started talking about it, and somehow and as you can see on the screen, representatives of all political parties, they were part of the convention, and they tried to present the party's manifesto and a commitment that they will help get clean drinking water to this neighborhood. The research findings were quite interesting. I won't go into details, but quickly you can see that 65% of the people reported that their water they received contaminated water in their taps, and the second number was that the water was pungent and contaminated. The other important part was that where they were getting what was the water source for their cooking, and you can see that 52% they were getting water from the government filtration plants, so they were not getting water directly from the tap waters. They had to travel to the filtration plant, and also so these kind of this kind of research actually helped us realize that this is not an issue that has ever been brought to government's attention, and people were usually talking about be it employment or poor infrastructure, but water was never a priority, although it was the first thing they had to use for their cooking, and for even taking baths. It was very difficult for them. The water was usually sewage mixed. So yes, again, 52% were using government filter water. 26% had to buy water from private filter shops. It means poor people who could not even afford food for their family. They had to buy water just for basic day-to-day needs. So through this campaign, we were able to build community's trust, and they were able to make government, their politicians accountable. But this general elections were quite interesting that happened in February 2024. So we sort of extended this campaign to a broader campaign that we called I Vote Prosperity, and the whole idea was for those neighborhoods residents that they should add more issues. So water was one issue, but then we identified with through the research, the data we collected, like 8,142 people. We literally went to every household, minority household in that constituency, where there were general elections for the National Assembly seat, and water came as you can see that it was the second most important issue. So the first issue was availability of natural gas. 6,224 people said, but second, availability of clean drinking water in the neighborhood was the second biggest issue. So we again went to the people saying, and this campaign that the poster you're seeing it's and one phenomena that was observed in those neighborhoods, that votes were bought because those were poor people, and the candidates from different political parties, they would offer them very small money in exchange of their votes. So this campaign actually targeted on these particular issues, that our vote is not for sale, but I will vote for clean drinking water. So these kind of posters, these posters were displayed in all over neighborhoods, and people, were very receptive to this idea. And yeah, even on social media. So clean drinking water remained one of the biggest problems in the neighborhood. And lastly, I'll just conclude through this campaign, we were actually able to bring the candidates on through an open mic. There was a gathering we were able to hold. The candidate came through this open mic and talked about several issues, including and that was the first exchange of its kind that the candidate of a National Assembly made himself accountable to the masses and listened to their problems firsthand and also responded. So he won, and now we will be following up with the agenda we provided, of course, focusing that provision of clean drinking water must be ensured in all those poor minority neighborhoods where most of the people are in menial jobs. And I hope he's back in the constituency. He has also become a federal minister. It means he has more power and he is committed. Hopefully, I mean, we have his recordings if in case he doesn't fulfill his promises. So we'll make a follow-up campaign with him. Yeah, so in that sense, it's a big success for us. I mean, it was a small scale in one constituency, but we could see that people really cared about this issue. For the first time, they realized that this was the issue they could resonate to, and something very pragmatic even for the candidates, not something superficial where he had to promise to, or overpromise ambitiously for certain things, but demanding for basic amenities like clean drinking water for the neighbors, for these poor neighborhoods was something he bought quite clearly. And I think that's it from my side. But what we have as a success, or what we could see, that politicizing this issue that has never been done before, at least in our context, has been extremely helpful, and putting it on the political agenda, because eventually no organization, civil society organization, or any private sector can take ownership of such a big challenge as provision of clean drinking water. So putting it on the political agenda of any political party has literally done magic for the community. And if in coming months we will be following up with him, the neighborhoods we identified, like around 15-16 neighborhoods where we'll and of course then we'll be sharing success if there are pipelines for clean drinking water, and also water filtration plants. So yes, in that sense, what I can see that what Asif envisioned like a couple of years ago with end water poverty support, we have turned it into a reality, and hopefully we'll be able to see more success in coming years. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mary. Really appreciate you giving this presentation at this time as well. And what a great example of elections advocacy, building solidarity between different marginalized groups, building solidarity between sanitation workers, conducting research, just really fantastic work. And I think, as you say as well, a great point about politicizing the issue, and then getting commitments and getting the human rights towards sanitation and sanitation's workers' rights on the political agenda. So yeah, so much going on in that presentation, but thank you very much for sharing. We've gone a bit over the scheduled presentation time. There's still some time for questions and answers. We've already got quite a few questions in the chat box. So I'm gonna go, firstly, if anyone would like to take the mic, please put their hand up. I saw Bakari, you did that before. But if not, the first question for the panelists is from Asia Bongo, who's from the Inner City Federation in Cape Town. And he's asking, how do you deal with the situation whereby the government failed to perform their constitutional duties in terms of making sure that people have access to water? So there's that question. And then there's a question, I think, here that's specifically for Monica and Natalie about what happens if the government then ignore your follow-up letters? What do you do next? So I don't know if any of you would like to take the mic and answer those questions. The floor is open as well to attendees.
Bueno, si quieren yo puedo iniciar, porque justo en la...
If you want, I can start, because in our case, even though we're sending all these letters to the different ministries, as the one of the Ministry of Water and Health, we are looking for this politicization. Can you hear me? Okay, yes. So as Monica was mentioning, we were not heard, but this is like the classical history. We have to insist and insist and keep insisting. So this subject, in our case, the quality of water in schools, we bring this subject to the table. We put this subject in the focus of media and then the authorities. It's a very long work, but it's a work that in the end gives results, and step by step we obtain these changes in the way that public policies are being done. And after some years have passed since we launched our platform, with time, the question of water is even more present in media. It's a subject that keeps on rising between communities. Communities are even more sensitive to this subject. And so this is helping to build this pressure to really make a change that will affect the decision making, the important decision making for the monetization of water, and in order to provide quality water to people. I'll leave the floor to someone else. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Natalie. Did anyone want to answer the first question about how do you deal with the situation whereby government fails to perform the constitutional duties? PC, go ahead.
Can I supplement to that? Yes. I just want to give an example from India. We have a right to information commission. So if we are not getting any reply from any government official, you can straightway apply in a form asking them to give the information. They are bound to give within 3 weeks. If they don't give, you can go to the commission. And if the commission also takes 3 times, if they within 3 notice they are not responding, then you can go to the court. This is one way. The other way that we apply, because it is a long time consuming process, what we do, we invite a media with us and go to them. And if the media, it is published in the media, the news is published in the media, immediately there is a action taken. Section is there where they will look into it. They have to give a reply. The third approach from our side, what we did is what we do, we just go in a group, not in individual. If you go in a group, they have a big pressure on them. They are a little scared and they respond. So these are the 3-4 ways that we adopt it depending on the situation and the service providers. Thank you.
Thank you, PC. Sorry, I was struggling to unmute there. Monica, you have your hand up. Please go ahead.
Sí, gracias. Pues yo diría que
Yes, thank you. I wanted to say that even if authorities respond and they make deals, many times they don't really comply with these promises. And so I believe that it is very important that all of us here, we have our strategies, and I think it's important to be able to share all the strategies, or if there could be a strategy made, so we make these entities really comply with what they say. In many cases, we are facing repression when we say what hasn't been done. But I would like to know if any of you have find a solution to make politicians comply with what they say.
Maybe that's a good opportunity to go. Maybe that's a good opportunity to go to Mary, because there's a couple of questions for you in the chat, Mary, about how you maintain non-partisanship in such a campaign, in the Vote for Water campaign, so that you don't seem to be supporting a certain political party or candidate. And then there's another question in the chat about after the elections, and once the leaders have been elected, how do you then deal with political interference? And how do you then hold them accountable? So maybe if you could, a very difficult three questions there, but maybe if you could give some thoughts, that would be great.
Thank you very much, Kumulani. It's a very tricky question at the same time. This is why we have Asif with us, because it was Asif's brainchild, and someone like me who has a political position already. Although as CLJ, I do not hold any political, it's a non-political, non-partisan platform. But I think for us, it's really important where we are working. If we are talking about, if we are claiming our rights, so it's also important to claim from the people in power. So in different regions, different political parties have a strong political hold, and they have, when they are in the government, of course, they have the power to change. So the whole idea has been that Asif, being the face of this campaign as non-partisan and as a resident who is directly affected, so he doesn't hold any political position, and he has been campaigning with his fellow residents in the neighborhood. For me, it's been quite tricky, because whenever I jump in, people see me as a representative or as someone who has affiliation with one political party. But I think it's really important to keep the community in confidence that we do not support. We have to keep reiterating that we do not support any political party per se, but anyone who has the power to change, or who has the power to give us what is our legitimate right. So this is people conscious to decide whichever party they want to support. Yeah, it's quite slippery if Asif wants to jump in and
I think Asif isn't on the call, unfortunately, Mary. I think his connection's dropped, but Jackson looks keen to jump in, so I'll pass to Jackson.
Okay, thank you so much. Basically, I just wanted to, my response was supposed to be to contribute on the first question, how you deal with the situation whereby the government failed to perform their constitutional duties in terms of making sure that the people has access to water. Yeah, I wanted maybe to share one of our practical situation which we had. That was some 4 years ago. It should be 4 or 5 years ago, where the government kept on dragging one of the promises to allocate a certain amount of money, about $10.5 million US, to improve the water supply system within the province. But it became a political issue year in, year out. During the campaigns, the issue may come, but immediately after elections, no one is able to respond to the issue. Yeah, so what we did, we mobilized the local people throughout the province. We tried to use the media and sensitize the public their rights to water and what they need to do, understanding the fact that normally most of the politicians, be in the ruling government, they also fear if the public rise. So now we allowed the public to sign the petition, and we raised a lot of numbers because of the huge number which signed that petition. When we presented to government, to the point where our campaign was escalated beyond our country, because we had opportunity also even to attend one of the international meeting, which is the UN, where we tried to escalate our campaign and take the petition there. After we have done the petition locally, it actually compelled the president himself to instruct the minister who was in charge of water by then to start following up with us and making a program on how best what position to make us understand the position of government, where we had an opportunity now, because it's like now the public are speaking behind the institution. It is no longer you speaking, it is now the public speaking, and they are fearing to lose their numbers. They ended up making a decision to release all the money at once, and I think the government actually responded to it. So it is one of the approach which we used during that campaign. When we saw that the government is dragging the process, we just used the public to using the petition, then take it to the government officials to make decisions.
Thanks very much, Jackson. Abu Bakari, I saw you had your hand up earlier. Did you have a question for the panel? Take that as a no. The floor is also open to all of the attendees if you want to if you have any questions, or perhaps if you want to share your own experience of supporting rights-based campaigning at local and national level, please do come in. I know there's a lot of expertise on this call and a lot of members on this call who are participated in the Claim Your Water Rights campaign also, so you'd be very welcome to take the mic and share your experiences. If not, Jackson, did you have something else you wanted to add?
Oh, I think for now, no.
Okay, and thanks, Abu Bakari. I see. Anyone else have their hand up? I don't think so. Amaka, maybe do you want to just come in quickly on that first question about dealing with the situation?
I am Mr. Habibur Talukdar. I am speaking from Bangladesh. I have some questions. How can we get rid of air pollution causing sea level rise and the misery and destruction of poor people? Thank you. This is my question.
Thanks, Habibur. I see Asif and Kumbalani, you have your hands up as well. Do you want to, and Alpha? We'll take a few questions perhaps at once.
Thank you very much. I just want to say that regarding the question that how we got into it, how we may politicize it, made it into a problem. I think to be a non-partisan and then claiming your rights is essentially important. Mary was not part of the campaign in a sense that she was not on the forefront. And if we want to engage politicians, we have to be not taking a side, but just seeking that they provide something. And on the other side, we talk to the people above the party lines. So when we are talking to people or the political parties, it should be the welfare of the people rather than looking at it only from a party point of view. Thank you.
Thanks, Asif. I think it's an excellent point. Alpha, do you have a question for the panel?
No, it's just a small contribution. Yeah, I'm happy with all the presentations from all presenters, and I'm encouraged that we are working hard in the context of Claim Your Water Rights campaign.
To vote for water in 2023 in our general election, but I think we failed.
Let's just let Alpha finish, I think, and then we'll come back to you. Sorry.
Yeah, what I was saying that I'm encouraged by all the presentations, and I'm happy that we are all pushing and forcing for a Claim Your Water Rights campaign in order to make sure that the communities have improved access to safe and adequate water. And I'm interested with the agenda, all the agendas, but because in Tanzania we are going to also to have local government elections, and next year we are going to have a general election, president and members of the parliament. I think this is the challenge for us, especially in the context of putting water and sanitation in the political agenda. So the last presentation means something to me. It's a challenge to me and members, anti-water poverty members in Tanzania, to make sure that we also adopt these issues of making sure that the politicians put the water agenda at the top. So this is my observation, and I'm encouraged by all the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Alpha. Kumbulani, let's go to you, and then Natalie, you can respond.
Thank you very much, Sam, and thanks to all the colleagues that have given the splendid presentations. Mine is just mainly a comment that we tried to initiate something like Vote for Water in the 2023 elections, but I think we faced some formative kind of challenges in terms of putting such kind of a campaign, and I think it with colleagues and learn with them even as we prepare for other elections. But maybe just a question will be, maybe if someone could assist in terms of we are having a serious El Nino induced drought right now, and one of the critical things that we are facing is that most of our water points are drying up. We are looking for low-cost technologies or methodologies that can somehow like recycle household water so that our people can have more improved use of their water. The water that they use for washing plates and clothes, maybe they could use it for watering vegetable gardens, improve their nutrition. So maybe just to say to the colleagues, if there is anyone also doing something around that, we'll be keen to learn from you also in terms of your best practices.
Thanks, Kumbulani. Over to you, Natalie.
Muchas gracias. Bueno, respondiendo un poquito a lo que Kumbulani menciona como
In order
reto,
to answer Kumbulani and the challenge that he was mentioning, I wanted to invite him that the access to water and sanitation is not only a technical issue, and it's not only the technology that is going to solve this problem, but we also need to analyze the care of the water basin and also the analysis of how the areas are around there. That's important to make sure that the water source is enough and the quality of this water. And also on the other side, I also checked that there was a specific question on how can we sustain our platform. And for this, I wanted to mention that the update of the data is absolutely a challenge for us, because monitoring these is not updated up to date like every day or systematically. the water providers do have the obligation of keeping this monitorization, but it's a data that is not open for the citizens. So we do not have access to this data. And we were able to have this data and this information because it was a specific project, and we were trying to provide water points for these schools, for the public schools. So as I said, it is a challenge to update this data or to have more data about that. There are so many gaps in the sense of the information and the law corresponding to the Article 127, which is the corresponding one to the water in Mexico. But as I said, the platform itself, it's a tool that shows clearly that there are arsenic or fluor and different nocive substances like feces. As we didn't take any action that could change the situation, this platform is of course useful, but there were not public policies specifically for these to change the situation, the water situation. So we keep it there, but of course it is a challenge and we do not have access to all that information. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Natalie. PC, do you want to just add quickly?
Yes. Quickly, we have some experience on water harvesting structures. When there is a shortage of water, we instead of going for check dams, big dams, and even check dams, if you have small water harvesting structures during rainy season, it will help. Second thing is rainwater harvesting at the rooftop. In the rooftop, we conserve the rainwater and make use of the water throughout the year. And that way, and we have a small tank below the building and even one more at the top. So that rainwater, whatever rain comes, and it is conserved and then made use. The third one is reuse. We are reusing water when there is a shortage of water, and like a kitchen garden and the domestic, and then coming to the bathrooms like that. So there are ample of models in our country. We are experimenting, and most of the places we find success. But the thing is, the owning by the community is still a problem. Thank you.
Yeah, and then you also still have the problem of holding governments accountable after that to their duty, as all of the presentation have highlighted. We are over time, but I'm sort of loath to stop this good discussion. I see Omar has his hand up. So Omar, if you could ask a quick question or a quick comment, that would be good, please.
Bueno, es un gusto escuchar
It is a pleasure to be able to listen all the experiences and all the success that my colleagues had. And I only wanted to suggest that if we could hold a meeting after this, just to share all the details, how we are managing our problems, because here we are also working in collaboration at all levels. And there is something that we got engaged here in my community, is that when we are trying to fetch water, we can do it by developing and making the people understand what are their capabilities and to know what are the solutions. Because we know that worldwide, we made some progress, but this is not sustainable. And we're investing in the same communities. And this is something that we have been seeing for years. So we are discussing about this subject, and we wanted to share with you what are your experiences and what can we do in that sense, and to hear your alternative solutions. Because when fetching water can even sometimes create more poverty and more dependence, but at the same time, it can also bring prosperity. And I don't think it's the what, but more how we do it. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences.
Thank you, Omar. I think it's a very good point that there's clearly so much more detail that we could go into on each of the panelists' work, on your own work as attendees as well. And I think it shows really the importance of having more of these conversations, but also I'm thinking that maybe when we have future exchanges as well, we have a bit more time for discussion and for interaction and clarification. There was just so much great work that I wanted to showcase for this webinar, but I think that this discussion is really rich and we'll have to continue it another time, really. So I'm just gonna close, I think, this exchange now. I'm just trying to share my screen as I have a few slides. Just bear with me one second. Okay, here we go. So I think, what have we learned really from the last 5 years of Claim Your Water Rights? Well, I think we've heard from the panelists that there are so many different lessons, but I really think the most important thing to say is that all of the achievements that you've heard about today stem from the determination, the creativity, the versatility, and the resilience of our members. You know, it's just pure tenacity to keep trying and testing these different tactics and enforce the human rights towards sanitation at local and national level, because, you know, it's really showcasing the power of community mobilization and of civil society organizing. I'd say if there's one thing that underpins all of these campaigns, it's those two features, because ultimately it's the agency of people, of communities and civil society that are activating laws, policies, and making human rights tangible, and getting people to claim rights. So there are a few more lessons, as you can see there from the slide, but I won't go into too much more detail, because we've got these lessons documented in a report called Lessons from Claim Your Water Rights. It's on our website, but I'll be sharing it as the follow-up to this meeting, and I'll be sharing it in our newsletter as well. We also have other resources. So we've got Human Rights Toolkit, we've got Progress Report with various different achievements documented. And this International Human Rights Day will be 5 years of the Claim Your Water Rights campaign, so we'll be marking that as well, and trying to do justice to the sheer diversity of different members' rights claiming work. But before we go, I just wanted to say that really none of this would be possible without our member-led Claim Your Water Rights task team, who co-created Claim Your Water Rights with the Secretariat and ensure that this global campaign remains rooted in local realities. So I just want to say thank you to the task team for volunteering their time, their support, their expertise, and holding me and us and the Secretariat accountable for ensuring that this campaign is inclusive, effective, and impactful. And I also just want to close by thanking our interpreters, who have been really excellent and have come in at late notice. And also, yes, just to thank the panelists once again for their excellent presentations and answering your questions really diligently. And thank you to everyone who attended and asked questions and participated. We'll be having more exchanges in the coming months, and we'll be having some events around the People's Water Forum, as well as the World Water Forum. So please continue to read the newsletter for more information. And if you have other questions that haven't been answered, please contact me offline. My email address is samtaylor@waterproperty.org, and I'm sure I can connect you to the panelists as well. So thank you very much, everyone, for your time and solidarity, and happy World Water Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. From Bangladesh. Thank you so much. From Bangladesh.
Thank you, Harvey. Thanks, PC. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Some excellent work. Excellent.